Welcome back to Bayonne Tonight. My name is Melanie Munoz and I will be your host. Today we have Coach Caban as our guest. Can you introduce yourself before we start with any questions?
Yeah, hi, I'm Coach Caban. I'm the Bayonne High School track and field and cross country coach. I'm also a health and phys ed teacher.
All right. Can you tell us about your experience as a track athlete in college and how it influenced your coaching style?
Yeah, I ran in college. I got recruited to run at Oberlin College, a small Division III school in Oberlin, Ohio. And I had a blast. It was great all 4 years. I had a lot of fun. I met some wonderful people. I had a wonderful coach, and he's the one who really influenced me in my coaching style. And he was very caring. He tried to build all the relationships with all of his athletes, and that's something that I took and something that I try to do as a coach. It's great. He influenced me in many ways, and all my coaching styles come from him. So shout out to Ray Appenheimer out at Oberlin College.
What led you to pursue a career in coaching track and field?
My senior year of college, I decided I wanted to be a track coach. It was a pretty easy decision, I think. Just being so versed with the knowledge of track and competing and getting to know all the wonderful athletes that I worked with and a wonderful coach of mine, I just decided that this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to be there for all my athletes and see them improve and see the faces that they make when they cross the lines, knowing that they ran the best that they can. So.
All right. What are the key qualities you look for in athletes when recruiting for your team?
I look for someone who's hardworking, someone who's dedicated, someone who's willing to show up every single day with an open mind. It's very important to me that they are open to hearing critiques and open to implementing new ideas to their training and to their running and racing and their lifestyle. So someone who's just dedicated, someone who's hardworking, someone who's willing to give it the best on that day. That's all I'm looking for.
How do you approach training differently for cross country, outdoor track, and indoor track seasons?
That's a great question. They're three completely different sports. Cross country, I like to use as a precursor to the training for indoor and outdoor. So it's a lot of what I like to call base training for our athletes. So it's a lot of easy running, working on endurance and building muscle and strength so that they can tackle the hard workouts that we do indoor and outdoor season. And then indoor is just a wonderful precursor run into outdoor season. So we'll work on speed for indoor season, and then once we get the top end speed down as best as we can, once we get to outdoor season, it's all about holding that top end speed for as long as we can. So workouts get much harder outdoor season, but it's it's all one beautiful progression that we have, and it took a long time to realize how to implement that progression over the course of 3 seasons. But every season is different, and I love each season for its own little unique qualities.
What strategies do you employ to keep your athletes motivated during grueling training sessions?
Tough workouts. That's the hard stuff, right? So I'm constantly encouraging our athletes as they're running. I stand on the sidelines watching them run, giving them critiques, and pushing them, and I ask them questions when they're done running, how they felt, what could they do to be better, if they felt like they're improving. And that's one of the big things that I do is ask folks if they feel like they're improving. I think that's the most important. If they know that they feel like they're improving, that's half the battle, because I see them improving all the time, every single day. It's up to them to realize that that they are improving, and that's their motivation, is just to be 1% better every day, and that's all I ask from everyone.
Can you describe a particularly challenging situation you've encountered as a coach and how you handled it?
Sure. One of the best runners to come out of Bayonne High School, she had a lot of pre-race anxiety, so it was very, very tough to sort of get her into mindset of competing. And it took me a couple months to understand what she needed to hear and what we needed to do to get her on the line to compete to the best of her ability. And so that was probably the most challenging thing that I had to deal with as a coach, but it was also the most rewarding because every time she would toe the line, it would be like an artist making a masterpiece when she would race. But it took a lot to get there as a coach, to sort of get to know where her mindset was and what she needed. So that's what I try to do with a lot of my athletes, is get to know each and every one personally and individually, know that everyone's different, and try and learn what they need to succeed.
How do you balance the physical and mental aspects of training for your athletes?
That's a good question. A couple years ago, we implemented journaling for training, keeping a training log, have them realize, what they need to do, set goals. I'm a very goal-oriented person, so I like to ask a lot of the performers on the team what their goals are, and sort of understanding that there is a mental aspect of the sport that I would argue is probably the biggest aspect of the sport. I think it's more mental than physical, and so a lot of these athletes have to realize that stuff gets tough, but they're tougher, and I'm trying to implement that in the training, and talking with our athletes, motivating them, because the mental well-being of athletes is very, very important.
What role do you believe nutrition plays in the performance of track athletes, and how do you incorporate it into your coaching?
It's very important. Nutrition gives you all the fuel you need. Nutrition and sleep really are two big things that a lot of athletes nowadays are lacking. There's a lot of non-nutritious foods out there, and a lot of young athletes are not getting enough sleep. But I'm in the big school of thought of eat anything and everything you can. A lot of stories of athletes who aren't fueling themselves properly and leading to their careers being cut short. So I'm in the camp of as long as you're getting fuel into your body, you're going to be great. So eat anything and everything you can, in moderation, of course, but really focus on fueling the body. That's something that I preach to a lot of my athletes.
How do you assess and track the progress of individual athletes throughout the season?
It's very easy as a track coach, only because you have races and everything's individually timed, and so we get to see the improvement of athletes over the course of the season. I also like to give athletes pointers and what I see from them. I get to see how their form's getting better, how stronger they're getting. So it's very easy to map out and to see the progress, because you have races every week, every other week, and getting to see each athlete improve in the course of the season is easy and very fun.
What are your thoughts on incorporating strength training into track and field programs?
I think it's very important. I think building strength all around the body is what prevents significant injuries over the course of the season. And so, we used to do circuits after runs every day. A couple years ago, we've sort of fallen back behind on that one, but we're going to implement that come the outdoor season. We try to do a lot of core. We try to do a lot of upper body stuff, some proprioception stuff, knowing where the body is, knowing how to activate the special muscles that we don't really use when we run. So strength training is very important, and it's very important that athletes do get into the weight room and do it on their own, do the supplements on their own, just so they can get stronger and healthier and fitter.
What strategies do you use to help athletes overcome setbacks or injuries?
I like to push the athletes through their injuries in terms of having them get stronger. So I have a lot of athletes who are dealing with Achilles injuries and some shin splints, so they'll take some time off from running, but they are encouraged to do a lot of strength stuff. So if they can't work on their running, they'll work on upper body strength, core strength, and they'll I give them some grueling stuff to do at home, where they'll do a 20-minute long core circuit or a lot of upper body stuff, some squats, some lunges. if they can't get stronger through running, they'll get stronger through other ways. And a lot of folks hate that, so they just try to do everything else that they can to get healthier. So they'll roll more, they'll stretch more. So I like to make, when they're injured, I like to make it sort of tough on them. They're on the sidelines watching the rest of their teammates training, but I tell them that they could be out there if they do the right things to get healthier, and that's what I try to do.
How do you adapt your coaching techniques to accommodate athletes with varying skill levels and backgrounds?
It's very easy, knowing that I come into a season with a backbone structure of workouts and intensities. But I know that every athlete is an individual, and know that some of them can accommodate for the higher volume. And this is really important in cross-country season when we have athletes who should be running 35, 40 miles a week, but some of them are coming back from injuries, or some of them just can't handle the high mileage. So I'll tone down the volume for them, but keep the intensity the same, just so they can get the work done. But it's very easy to individualize training, and I'm a big individualized training coach who will ask the athletes how they're feeling during workouts, and if I have to sort of pull them out of a workout because they are too tired for the day. So it's very easy to individualize training for everyone.
What do you believe sets apart exceptional track athletes from the rest?
Probably dedication. Doing the work that they need to do when no one's watching. And this is very important when it comes to the weekends and the off season, where I'm not seeing my athletes every day. So some of the best athletes come back after the off season fitter and stronger than the rest, and that's just because they're dedicated to do the work, showing up every day at practice, willing to give it 100% of their best effort that day. That's what really sets apart the rest.
How do you prepare your athletes mentally for competition day?
I like to ask questions. I like to see where their mind's at before the meet. I'll sit down with a couple of athletes, especially if I know that they're struggling with how they view themselves or where they are in a race. I like to ask them, how do they feel their week went, and I'll tell them that I think their week went great and that they're ready. One of the things that I try to stress to our athletes is I'm not going to put them in a position where I know that they will fail. I want to see them succeed, and so I'll only have them do the things that I know that they could do. And so I try to tell the athletes that they belong there, that they are good enough to be where they are, and that every day that they line up to race is a privilege, and that they should grab the race by the horns and really work hard and show everyone what they've done.
Can you share any memorable moments or achievements from your coaching career so far?
Yeah, last year was probably one of the big ones. We our sprint medley relay team qualified for nationals that year down in Philadelphia, and I brought the team of James and Jeremiah Stefanus and Michael Van Dorn and Amin Landrum down to Philadelphia to race at nationals for the sprint medley relay. And we were in the slow heat, and they ran very, very well. I was watching, and I saw them cross the line, and I saw the time, and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. And then the fast heat went on, and about halfway through the fast race, I realized, oh man, we have a chance of medaling. And I'm watching intently that race. I think I cared more about that race than my kids' race, just watching, and then seeing the 5th place guy come through, and then counting the seconds down to the 6th place guy, and realized that our team beat the 6th place team in that race by, I think it was like 3/4 of a second. And I turned over to my coach and was like, "Oh my, we just medaled!" And she told me that she never saw me as happy as I was, and jumping up in joy, running down the sidelines, and running to see our kids, and they had no clue what they did. And then I told them, and then there's pictures online of just seeing us all cheese, and I'm smiling so hard thinking about that. But that was probably the highlight of my career so far.
What advice do you have for young athletes aspiring to compete at the collegiate level?
Work hard. There's a lot of opportunity for continuing athletic pursuits in college, and it doesn't always have to be Division I didn't go D1, I went D3, and I had a blast. The best runner I ever coached, she went Division III, and she's having a blast. She went to nationals her freshman year at the Division III level. So there's a lot of opportunities. You just got to look, and you just got to work hard to get there. I think everyone has a spot in the sport, and they just have to work hard.
How do you stay updated on the latest trends and developments in track and field coaching?
I'm a track nerd. Everyone knows that. So I'm always, listening to interviews from, some of the best college coaches, watching training sessions from, professional athletes, and reading lots of books. Anyone can tell you that I have, a full bookshelf of coaching stuff. And I went to school for my master's degree in coaching and exercise science, so I got to get some new resources on what coaches are doing nowadays, and everything's changing, but I think a lot of coaches sort of look back at history and look back at what the original great coaches were doing and try and pick from what they're doing, because they were the first ones to do it, and I like knowing the history of track and field more than what's coming up now. So not saying that there's some weird great things going on with the new training modalities. Whoever's watching who knows track will probably know about the Norwegians running 2 threshold sessions a day, but there's a lot of us coaches who are in the mindset of we'll wait till we see the long-term results of that before we implement that stuff. But I like reading about what all these other coaches are doing, and I talk with some friends of mine who are also coaches, and we share training stuff, so it's kind of fun.
Can you discuss your philosophy on rest and recovery for your athletes?
Rest and recovery is very, very important. Over the course of the past couple years, I've sort of changed when our rest days are. So a couple years ago, it was like Thursdays our runners wouldn't run. They'd just do strength stuff. And they would be expected to run on Saturdays and Sundays. Now we run 5 days a week, and we'll have a rest over the course of the weekend. But rest and recovery is very, very important. Sleeping well, doing rolling out, stretching, all that stuff is very, very important. And I try to stress that with all my athletes. Just like if they're feeling hurt or tired, they got to roll. They'll take the day off, and we'll pick back up again the next day.
How do you approach goal setting with your athletes for both the short term and long term?
When we would implement journaling, I'd ask the athletes to do a lot of thinking for what their goals are over the course of the season. So I'll have them set a season goal, and then I'll have them set sort of their long-term, year-long goal, and then I'll have them set weekly and daily goals and see if they achieve that. For a lot of athletes, that was a lot, so we sort of dialed back on that. But I do stress, what do you want to do at this race this weekend? What time do you want to hit? What do you need to do to get that? So I'm very big on asking the athletes to put things into perspective of what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And it's not so much a goal in their head, but it's more of a conversation that sort of implants that idea. So,
how do you handle conflicts or disagreements within the team or with individual athletes?
That's a tough question, because everyone's different and everyone approaches things a little bit differently. So I try to have conversations with everyone. The people involved, I'll try and communicate what I see and what they're feeling and what's going on and what they need me to do, what they want me to do about it. And then, of course, I make the final decision on anything. And, whether it be have people take some time off or just have the two sit down and have a conversation with each other to sort of figure out the disagreements. But for the most part, I'm very happy to say that we have a pretty cohesive team right now, and I'm very happy with everyone on the team. I think we have absolutely great individuals, and things haven't gotten so bad to a point where I do have to worry about things happening. But yeah, I try to have conversations and get to know everyone. I think that mitigates and lessens the problem, maybe even prevents the problem from it happening.
What do you believe is the biggest challenge facing track and field coaches today?
Around the area, probably participation. I know it's hard to say that when we have a team of 65, 70 kids, but I think it has to be. A lot of us coaches are dealing with small numbers, and so we can't afford to cut people from the team. Not that I feel like we should cut people from the team. I think everyone has a spot in this sport. Anyone can improve, but I think I ask coaches about this all the time. It's they're missing a lot of athletes in the school because a lot of athletes don't want to come out. They don't want to try out. They think it's too hard. But which it is. Track is probably one of the most grueling sports because all you're doing is working every single day, and the only skill really you're learning is running. But trying to build track and field as a rewarding, exciting sport, because it is. Every 4 years, track athletes become really excited because we get to see the Olympics or the World Championships. And there's a lot of wonderful track athletes out there, and there's a lot of wonderful opportunities for folks to continue running in college with scholarships and stuff. So trying to change the view of track and field is probably what us coaches are trying to deal with.
Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you also for coming and watching. That will be a wrap for Bayonne Tonight.